Is the Monport Mega S 70 watt the best value CO2 laser engraver? That's what we're going to find out in this video. This powerful CO2 laser engraver is great for engraving and or cutting many different materials, including wood, leather, acrylics, both clear and colored, stone, paper, glass, rubber, cork, and anodized aluminum. Hi, I'm Ken of Risk Innovations, and I have organized the video into chapters listed in the description that will allow you to skip around the video depending on what is important to you. I would like to thank Monport for sending me the Mega S 70 watt laser engraver for my evaluation. Okay, let's get started. The Mega S is a 70 watt CO2 laser engraver using a 10,600 nanometer wavelength laser. The laser spot size is 0.05 by 0.08 millimeters. It is a Class 1 laser, which means normally that you do not need to wear safety glasses. However, I always do for an added layer of protection. The overall size of the Mega S is 1,120 millimeters wide by 670 millimeters deep by 330 millimeters high, or 44 inches wide by 26 inches deep by 13 inches high. And the unit weighs 60 kilograms, or about 132 pounds. So you will want to get some help to move this thing around. The Mega S has a 27.5 inch wide by 13.78 inches deep, or 700 by 350 millimeter work area, and has a Z-axis height of 90 millimeters or 3.54 inches. It comes with the honeycomb bed and the crumb tray. The honeycomb bed is free floating, so in the near future I will design and 3D print some locators to keep the honeycomb bed from moving. It also has a pass-through slot in the front and rear of the laser, which allows you to use the optional conveyor to expand the engraving area to 27.6 inches by 44.1 inches. The Mega S also has a batch mode, which I will evaluate along with the conveyor in my follow-up video coming soon. The Mega S has a maximum speed of 600 millimeters per second. The Mega S can cut the following materials in one pass: 20 millimeters thick acrylic, as well as 20 millimeters thick plywood. The Mega S has a steel and aluminum frame and a steel housing with a tinted acrylic lid. The right side has the on-off switch, the emergency stop, a connection for an optional external air pump, and the power connection. The back of the machine has the 4-inch exhaust port. The Mega S has a 1.75 inch round color LCD screen that displays the status of the machine, including the status of a job, Wi-Fi/USB connection, error messages, and the coolant temperature and flow rate. You can't move the laser or perform any task with the touchscreen, so it's more of a status indicator. We interrupt this program with a special report. Ken wants to find a way to quickly produce parts for his RC car. If he doesn't have a 3D printer, he could contact PCBWay, a company that he could send his design to and have them 3D print the parts for him. All he has to do is go onto PCBWay's website, upload his STL file, and they would make the parts and ship them right to his door. Then, after Ken receives his RC car parts, he could assemble with his RC car and he would be so happy. Good news! PCBWay is having their 12th anniversary event from now through July. They are offering discount coupons, mini games, and up to 50% off 3D printing service for SLA and MJF printed parts. They also have a free offer on special solder mask colors of black, purple, or pink for your PCBs. If Ken needs other services in the future, such as CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, and injection molding, PCBWay could help him with that as well. Thank you, PCBWay, for sponsoring today's video. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program. The Mega S comes with Monport's M-Design Hub software, and it's also compatible with the industry standard Lightburn software. The Mega S has an LED strip in the front and 2 LED strips on the lid to light up the inside of the unit very well. The home position is in the left rear corner of the machine. There is an internal air pump that provides air assist during the running of the laser. However, you can attach an optional air pump for increased airflow. The Mega S has an autofocus feature which works well. The only issue I had was when I was trying to engrave clear acrylic that it did not recognize the material. So I just added a piece of paper on top of the acrylic and it worked fine. The Mega S has an 8MP camera mounted on the inside of the lid that is used for aligning the workpieces, which I find very helpful. It comes with an internal water pump system that circulates distilled water through the laser tube to dissipate the heat. The Mega S comes with an internal exhaust fan and a small length of 4-inch diameter flexible hose. However, the fan is not powerful enough for my installation because the laser is not close to a window. So I connected the hose to my large exhaust system that vents all fumes to the outside. Even though the Mega S is rated as a Class 1 laser, as an abundance of caution, I always wear my laser-approved glasses. When you use the optional conveyor, the Mega S is not Class 1, so you definitely need to wear your laser-approved glasses. If you're interested, I use this pair of laser glasses that fully protect my eyes. They are very comfortable and they are certified for this laser's 10,600 nanometer wavelength. A link is in the description. Currently, Monport does not offer any optional rotary accessories for the Mega S, so at this time you don't have the option to engrave cylindrical workpieces such as tumblers. Now let's cover unboxing and setup. The Mega S arrived in a large wooden crate which weighed 97 kilograms or 213 pounds, so I couldn't budge it. It comes with 2 straps that help with getting it out of the crate. I unboxed it in place, used dollies to get it into the garage, and then I used a hand truck to get it into the shop. Then I used my hydraulic lift cart to get it up onto my workbench. I would definitely recommend you get help if you don't have an hydraulic lift cart. The package includes Allen wrenches, distilled water, power cord, exhaust fitting and hose, a funnel for the distilled water, and a user manual. I removed all the foam packaging. Next, I removed the 2 X-axis shipping L brackets by removing 4 screws. Then I reached underneath the machine and cut the cable tie that was holding the air pump belt. Then I removed the tape from the 2 mirrors of the machine. Next, I removed the back of the machine by removing 3 screws. I partially filled the tank with approximately 400 milliliters of the distilled water using the included funnel. I also removed the foam pieces from around the laser tube. I powered on the laser and observed the water flow in the laser tube. I topped off the tank with the remaining amount of distilled water in the container, which was in total of about 1 liter. Next, I connected the 4-inch diameter exhaust hose to the laser and to my main exhaust system. I installed the honeycomb bed and the crumb tray into the laser. Then I went on to Monport's wiki and downloaded their latest version of their Monport Design Hub software called MDH. I connected my computer to the Mega S using the supplied USB-C cable. I opened the MDH software and selected my Mega S. The Mega S firmware is automatically updated through the MDH software. I really didn't want to learn the new MDH software to run the Mega S because I normally use the industry standard Lightburn software to run my various laser engravers. So the next step was to set up the Mega S in Lightburn. I downloaded the Mega S Lightburn configuration file and I opened up Lightburn. I imported the configuration file and successfully connected the Mega S to Lightburn. The first thing I did was to calibrate the laser head by placing the light target in the laser head and seeing where the red laser was on the light target. I adjusted 2 screws on the first mirror until the red laser was in the middle of the light target. Next, I needed to calibrate the integrated camera in Lightburn. I clicked on Add Camera, then Calibrate Camera Lens. I downloaded a tags pattern and placed it in multiple locations on the bed surface. Next, I needed to perform the alignment calibration, so I cut a piece of paper to fit the honeycomb bed, and I followed the instructions to engrave 4 targets, and then to click on the center of each of the 4 targets. Next, I placed a 3mm thick piece of plywood into the Mega S, and I ran the macro for Focus Auto. I then went to the console and checked if the autofocus correctly read the actual 3mm thickness. If it didn't match, then I would go to the macro Focus Calibration, manage, and change the last number to 3mm. Then I would recheck the autofocus measurement again. For my first engraving, I tried to engrave this small square. However, the actual engraving was in a significantly different location than the red laser outline. After doing more research, I determined that I needed to add a laser offset for the red dot pointer. I went into device settings, laser offset, then imported a 2-square pattern set to line mode, current position, and center job origin, and engraved the image. Then in the Move tab, I recorded the current X and Y position. Next, I jogged the laser head until the red dot was directly at the intersection of the 2 squares, and then recorded the X and Y position. I subtracted the second X and Y positions from the first X and Y positions, and I entered the results into the laser offset and turned on laser offset. I reran the engraving and it worked perfectly. Finally, I was ready to perform some actual engraving. Now, let's look at the capabilities of the Mega S by engraving and cutting some parts. The Mega S excels in engraving and cutting a variety of materials. Let's look at 3mm thick plywood first. First, let's run an engraving test to find the best settings to engrave the plywood. In Lightburn, I chose laser tools, then material test. I picked a speed range of 200mm per second to 800mm per second in 7 increments and a power setting range of 10% to 40% in 7 increments. The best engraving settings are 500mm per second at 15% power. For cutting the 3mm plywood, I set up another material test, but this time I picked a speed range of 10mm per second to 40mm per second in 7 increments and a power setting range of 60% to 90% in 7 increments. It looks like the best cutting settings are a speed of 25mm per second and a power of 65%. Next, I ran an engraving test for a cork coaster. I picked a speed range of 600mm per second to 1000mm per second in 5 increments and a power setting range of 5% to 15% in 3 increments. The best engraving settings are 1000mm per second at 10% power, which is what I used to engrave the cork coaster. Now let's try anodized aluminum. I finalized my engraving settings of a speed of 100mm per second and 40% power at 0.05 increments to engrave my logo onto these business card sized pieces of different colors of anodized aluminum. And after I buffed them using an eraser, they really turned out great. Next, I engraved my logo in this slate coaster using the settings of 450mm per second at 25% power, which also turned out very nice. One of the great capabilities of a CO2 laser is its ability to cut and engrave clear acrylic, as well as colored acrylics. Other types of lasers, such as diode lasers and fiber lasers, can't cut clear acrylic, so I was excited to test the Mega S on acrylic. For the material test, I picked a speed range of 250mm per second to 500mm per second in 6 increments, and a power setting range of 10% to 25% in 4 increments. The best engraving settings are 500mm per second at 20% power. For cutting the 3mm clear acrylic, I set up another material test, but this time I picked a speed range of 5mm per second to 20mm per second in 4 increments and a power setting range of 35% to 75% in 9 increments. It looks like the best cutting settings are a speed of 5mm per second and a power of 45%. I engraved and cut this image from the 3mm acrylic, and overall it turned out nice. But the thin font didn't work well for some of the letters, so I changed the font and reran the project. This lighted base really highlights the engraving. Now let's talk cost. At the making of this video, July of 2026, the current price of the Mega S is on sale for $2,999.99, normally $4,299.99. The external auxiliary air pump is on sale for $129.99, normally $219.99. The optional conveyor is on sale for $899, normally $1,299. Comparing the X-Tool P2S, which is a 55-watt CO2 laser with a 23.6-inch by 12-inch work area, is on sale for $3,399, normally $4,499. An Omtech Polar 2 is a 70-watt CO2 laser with a 28-inch by 14-inch work area, is on sale for $3,699, normally $5,199.99. So for my brief search, it seems like the Monport Mega S is the lowest priced 70-watt CO2 laser on the market. If you're interested in buying the Mega S, I have an affiliate link in the description below. Now let's cover my final summary. In my opinion, the Monport Mega S 70-watt CO2 laser engraver is a good value for the money. For roughly $3,200, you can have a powerful 70-watt CO2 laser engraver cutter that can engrave and or cut a variety of materials, including wood, leather, acrylics, clear and colored, stone, paper, glass, rubber, cork, and anodized aluminum. The Mega S has a large 27.6-inch by 13.8-inch work area and a Z height of 3.9 inches. It has a maximum speed of 600 millimeters per second, and it has an 8 MP camera, which will allow you to quickly align and engrave or cut your projects. Monport has made improvements with their documentation, and the information is out there on Monport's wiki and Lightburn's wiki. But it does require some work to pull all the resources together to get all the software, firmware, laser settings, calibration, and alignment implemented so that the Mega S is ready to start making projects. So one area of improvement is for Monport to create a comprehensive all-in-one manual. Also, at this time, the Mega S does not have an optional rotary attachment to allow you to engrave cylindrical objects such as tumblers. So this is another area of improvement. I think the Mega S is a useful tool that most people could benefit from having it in their workshop or small business. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye!